Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to sew this beautiful bustier dress with an asymmetric basque effect. In the last tutorial I shared how to draft this dress, so this tutorial is a continuation of that one. I'm going to be dropping the link in the description box for you to watch if you are yet to see that tutorial. So now we're going to dive into today's tutorial proper. Here, I went ahead to cut out my fabric with the pattern I drafted, and after cutting, I went ahead to pad my bustier with my wadding as you can see on the screen. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to start doing now is to join the side to the center panel. I'll place it this way, then I'll stitch from the lower part to the upper part, and I'll be repeating the same thing for this other side also. Then you stitch from the lower part to the upper part, and also I'll do the same thing for the lining piece. Once I'm done doing that, I'm also going to go ahead to attach my lining to the skirt part. So for the skirt part, what I'll go ahead to do is to attach my lining, making sure the good face of my fabric is facing the good face of my lining. Then I'll go ahead to close up the sides. I'll not be closing up the waist area and also the lower part. I'll just go ahead to close up the sides for the skirt part. So here I have the sleeve. It's a basic short sleeve. I'll be repeating the same thing for the sleeve. For the sleeve, I'm going to go ahead to close up this part of the sleeve and also the sides of the sleeve. And after doing that for the sleeve, I'll also be doing the same thing for the front block of the skirt. So here I have the front block of the skirt. I'm going to go over to my sewing machine to attach the lining piece to this part, and I'll be closing just the sides of the front block. The waist area and the lower part will be left open. So here I have the back block of the dress. What I'll go ahead to do is to attach my lining piece to it also. But before attaching my lining piece to it, I'm going to go ahead to sew in my darts on my fabric and my lining separately. After which I'm going to go ahead to place the lining piece on it like this. I'm going to go ahead to close up the neckline, the zipper allowance and also the side, but this part will be left open. So I'll go over to my sewing machine to quickly do all this, then I'll come back to show you what next. So after stitching the front block together, this is what the bustier looked like. As you can see, the bustier came out really nice. I went ahead to open up the seam and I gave it a good press, and this is what the front block of the bustier looked like once I was done stitching the piece together. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to attach my lining piece to the front block. So you place your lining piece on it, making sure the good face of your lining is facing the good face of your main fabric. Then you go over to your sewing machine to close up the neckline and also the side. After doing that, I'm going to go ahead to attach the upper bodice to the skirt part, and I'll stitch it together. So once I'm done doing this for the front block, I'm going to be repeating the same thing for the back block. So here I have the back block. I've already gone ahead to attach my lining piece to the back block, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead to attach the skirt part to the back block also. Then I'll come back to show you what to do next. After attaching the body to the skirt, this is what it looks like once I was done doing that, and I also did the same thing for the back. So the next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to join the front and the back together. So you place the good face of your back on the good face of the front like this. You're going to go over to your sewing machine to close up the shoulder area and also the sides. So when closing up the side, you'll not be closing one part completely. You'll be leaving at least 3 inches on this lower part, because you'll be needing it to attach the gathered part to the upper part of the dress. So I'm going to go ahead to do this. After doing that, I'm also going to go ahead to attach my zipper on the center back. So before fixing the zipper to the dress, you're going to go ahead to come down from your waistline by at least 7 to 8 inches. Then you close up the remaining part, after which you're going to go ahead to fix your zipper on the upper part like this. So I'll go over to my sewing machine to do all this, after which I'll come back to show you the next step. So yeah, I went ahead to join the front and the back together, and this is what the front looked like after doing that. As you can see, my bustier is still standing firm, so make sure you iron it properly. And this is what the back looked like after I was done fixing the zipper to it. So the next thing we are going to go ahead to do now is to attach the gathered part to the dress, and to do that I'm going to be using this other fabric for the lower part of the dress. So first you're going to go ahead to take your measurement. Go ahead to place your tape rule on the shoulder and take your measurement all the way down to the hem of the dress. So when taking your measurements, make sure that you take your measurement on the side of the dress. That is this part that is not as low as the parts with the basque effect. Make sure the measurement is taken from this side, so that after cutting the gathered parts and trimming of the excess, you will not have one part looking longer than the other. So once you're done taking the measurements, the next thing to do is to deduct whatever you have on the upper part from your actual full gown length measurement. So you go ahead to minus it, whatever you get to be used to cut the lower part of the dress. And also When cutting the lower part of the dress, make sure you add at least 5 inch extra for your sewing allowance and also to be on the safer side so you don't have the dress looking short. The 5 inch is going to be for hemming the dress and also to make up for whatever might be lost while taking the measurement. The next I'm going to go ahead to do is cut out the lower part with this fabric, but before doing that, make sure you take the measurement of this lower part all the way around. So you start from this part that is open down to the other side. You take your measurement all the way around, so whatever measurement you took out on this lower part, make sure that the fabric you'll be cutting for the gathered part should be at least times 3 of whatever measurement you took at that point to have a very nice gather. So if you have more fabric, you can go ahead to cut as much as times 4 or times 5 depending on how much fabric you have. So next I'm going to go ahead to cut the fabric I'm going to be using for this lower part. So after cutting, this is what it looks like after cutting. So you're cutting a straight cut. Once you're done doing that, the next you're going to go ahead to do is to go over to your sewing machine to gather this on the lower part. So you can either gather it once or you go ahead to create little pleats on your sewing machine. So I'll go over to my sewing machine to quickly do this, then I'll come back to show you what to do next. So like I said earlier, you can either go ahead to gather your fabric and place it on the lower part, or you create little pleats. So what I did was to make little pleats because after making the gathers, I didn't really like the effect. So I decided to just create little pleats on the lower part, as you can see me doing in the video. So I went ahead to do this all the way around. So I'm just going to go ahead to finish it up, then I'll show you what it looks like. So after creating the pleat on the lower part of the dress, this is what I have once I was done doing that. So I made little pleat, I didn't gather it at once. So make sure you follow the shape you have on the lower part, and this part of the dress is still open. I'm going to be closing it up later. The next thing we're going to go ahead to do now is to trim off the gathered part, and to do that you place your tray pull on the shoulder, then you go ahead to mark the full length of the dress you're making. You're going to go ahead to take these markings all the way around, after which you're going to go ahead to cut off the excess you have. So I'm going to go ahead to do this behind the camera because to do this and get a good result you need to do it on a bigger space. So I'll be doing this on the floor. So once I'm done trimming the dress, I'm going to go ahead to fold the edge. After folding the edge, next I'm going to go ahead to do is to attach the lining piece to it. I will also be pleating the lining on the dress, and to fix the lining on the dress you're going to go ahead to place your dress like this, then you place the lining piece to be on the upper part of the dress, not where the gathered part is. It should be on the upper part of the dress, after which you're going to go ahead to gather it or pleat on it. So make sure that the rough edge is in between the lining and your main fabric. So I'll go over to my sewing machine to quickly do this, and after doing this I'll also go ahead to attach my sleeve to the dress, then I'll come back to show you what it looks like. So here I'm going ahead to attach the sleeve and the lining to the dress, and I give it a good press, and this is what I had once I was done doing that. I also went ahead to make this ruffle that I'll be attaching to the dress. So what I did was to cut out a flounce and I pleated it on a piece of fabric, and this is what I had once I was done doing that. And for the design on the upper part, the first thing to do is to cut out a piece of fabric 3 inch, then you go ahead to fold it into two, sew it and turn it over. I'm going to go ahead to insert this 1 inch crinoline into it. After inserting it, I'll go ahead to use my needle and thread to tag it to the upper part of the dress. So I'll go ahead to do all this behind the camera, after which I'll come back to show you the final look of the dress. So here we have the final look of the dress, looking so nice and beautiful. So the dress is way bigger than my mannequin. I had to pin it behind, but trust me, it came out really nice. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next tutorial.